What is up, Steelers Nation? Thank you so much for jumping on to another episode of All Steelers Talk. I'm Noah Strackbine, joined always by my main man, Jacob Punteri. Find us on youtube.com/All Steelers Talk. Check us out anywhere you get your podcast. The Pittsburgh Steelers, what a day it was. We are in the middle of February. There is nothing going on. It is the quietest time of the year. So what else is there to do then? Well, talk a ton of smack on your former teammates and maybe the biggest name the Pittsburgh Steelers have ever had, especially at the quarterback position, Ben Roethlisberger. We're diving into the words of Joey Porter Jr. on Ben, James Harrison, how players, both current and former, are jumping in on the action to make sure that they get their 2 cents in on the matter. And then if we got time, talking a little left tackle position for the black and gold. It's raining in Pittsburgh, but whatever. It's 40 degrees out. Can't complain about it. I shoveled the last bit of snow today. It was beautiful. My back hurts again, but so worth it. How you feel, my friend?
feeling good. Feeling grateful for rain, which is just something I never am. But I mean, I'm done with the snow. My back was done with the snow. I am ready for a summer vacation, please. Yeah. So I wish nothing but the best and good ibuprofen to your back later this evening. And I hope that it does not hurt nearly as bad as the heart of Ben Roethlisberger after his teammates both just came to his attack.
Yeah, it is. It's kind of wild what happened and where things go. First off, appreciate you. The ibuprofen is ready and rocking. And, you know, I've just been, I don't know about you, and we'll stop talking snow maybe for the rest of the time after this one. But what I've done the last 2 days is every time I see like a little snow bank anywhere really that I am in driving distance of, I just run over it to just kind of help the efforts of like, you got to go. You got to get out of here. I'll take the damage on the car. It's no big deal. It's whatever. It's been worth it.
Thanks for doing your part, man. We all are grateful for it.
It's what I'm here for. And if anybody else needs to just drive into a snowbank, do it. You know, just do it. All right. Steelers football. For anybody who hasn't been paying attention to YouTube or anything else for the last 12 hours or so, you may have missed the words of one Joey Porter Sr., who appeared on Cam Hayward's podcast throughout Super Bowl week and for the most part, had some really good things to say, some really quality content given to the fans, especially talking to, you know, Pac-Man Jones and about his time with the Pittsburgh Steelers. And you really thought that him getting into it with Pac-Man would be like the pinnacle of his trash talk and, or I guess you could say just his strong words towards anybody or anything during Super Bowl week. We were wrong. In an episode of Cam Hayward's Not Just Football podcast, where he had Diana Rossini on, she was the guest, not Joey Porter Sr. The conversation turned directly into players calling out Mike Tomlin, who no longer are with the team. And the two examples given were Ben Roethlisberger and James Harrison. Joey Porter Sr. went on this whole rant about how James Harrison was made by Mike Tomlin, which you can agree with, and how Bill Cowher was cutting him and Mike T, there's no reason to have beef. And this is what's going on and everything behind the scenes. And essentially calls him out saying you're wrong, but also says that he spoke to James about this, that he's made it known to James. Ben Roethlisberger was different. Now, excuse my language on this, but I don't think that you could bleep these out. This is what Joey had to say about Big Ben. Quote, "That shit that Seven do that we don't talk about is crazy. Out of anybody that talk, he should never grab a microphone and talk Steelers business. Because if we are talking Steelers business, his ass is foul of all foul. The shit he did is just foul of all foul. He's not a good teammate. Won a Super Bowl with them, but the person, he's just not a good teammate. He knows that. Anybody in the Steeler building knows that. I've only won one Super Bowl, and that was my quarterback. So do I love my quarterback? Yeah. But is he a good person? No. That, my friend, carried into players, current and former, diving in on this situation and giving their 2 cents on the matter with, I don't know, most notable Mason Rudolph saying, go off with a bullseye target to lead things off. Mike Mitchell says Peasy talking that talk, and Mike Adams, amen. Hold them boys accountable. Ben talking shit about anybody is comical. A wild day for the Steelers alumni here. There are, I mean, let's a spade's a spade at the end of the day. There's really no hiding that Ben was never, he was always viewed as the guy that he just wasn't the quarterback that was best friends with people on the team. Let's say that. He was the quarterback. That was about it. And that was always pretty well known. While he does have good relationships with some on this team, for sure, I think the large overruling sense is a lot of what Joey Porter Sr. had to say. I will hold my thoughts until after your thoughts. What do you think? What did you think watching this one? And also shout out to Diana Rossini, who spoke for all of 11 seconds in this episode when she was supposed to be the one. The conversation started of how do you determine when guys are talking smack if it was real or not, if there was a vendetta against anybody. And then Peasy just took over. So shout out to her. What are your thoughts on this one?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, like if anyone wants to wonder why Diana Rossini is really good at getting information, it's because she knows when to sit back and just kind of let people talk, right? And I felt like that was very much on display. Joey Porter Sr., the always outspoken man that he is, had some things on his mind, and I think the entire room was just like, let's just let this man say his piece, and then we'll go from there. My thoughts on the matter, as someone who grew up in Pittsburgh, was seeing the things that Ben Roethlisberger did, what the media discussed about him growing up, seeing what he did in his career, hearing from teammates and their experiences with Ben Roethlisberger post NFL playing days. This is anything but a surprise to hear this overall sentiment from Joey Porter, right? Like, aside from maybe Marquise Pouncey, and that's about it. There's not a lot of Steelers who are always talking about how much they love Ben Roethlisberger, the person. There's always a lot of respect for the competitor he was, the ability to lead to championships in that regard. Sure. Just that your buddy, just your pal, in the same way that so many people talked glowingly about the person that Mike Tomlin was to them and how he sort of shepherded them in multiple ways. That was never going to be there for Ben Roethlisberger because he was always really just that guy who thought his shit don't stank. And I think that was just kind of the calling card of his entire career. As he's become a father and a family man, it seems to be a very different version of Ben Roethlisberger, and his post-playing days are maybe not lining up with the person he was back then. But yeah, this was the most unsurprising thing I could have heard from Joey Porter, because if you watch the Steelers team growing up, that just made sense. Ben Roethlisberger never seemed like a great teammate. He just seemed like the quarterback on a good team. Those are very different things.
Yeah, I agree.
Tell me yours. Tell me your thoughts.
I don't know where my thoughts go. I was honestly trying to, my thoughts go in a million different ways. I was trying to see if my thoughts were I don't want to say overpowering, too much. Let's say that, too much. But quite frankly, I think at the end of the day, James Harrison is playing a figure in all of this. And it's very clear to see, like James Harrison is scared. Nobody's that scary all the time. Nobody's just born that terrifying. It's just not the case. I've also had conversations with James Harrison where I was like, you're a very nice human being. You're a nice guy. This is a nice dude going on right here. I've also had conversations where I'm like, I should call my dad because I don't know what to do after you piss yourself in the middle of an interview, but I feel like he's the one that would have the answer to that. If can't fix the car, what to do when a man terrifies you, all goes to Pops. I've seen both sides of it. I think he's clearly playing like something, and he has to ride that, and I get it. Ben, I think, is very genuine when he says these things, and I think it's 100% because Ben viewed himself as more than the Steelers, the more than the organization. And I think he was, by the end of it, bigger than the organization, truthfully. Like, I think Ben was the only reason the Steelers were good for the last year that he was there. And I think, and don't get me wrong, they had good defenses. They weren't winning more than 5 games without Ben Roethlisberger. That wasn't happening. I truly believe that he believes everything that he says, which is just nuts to me, but also shows you that this guy never had the relationships with people that you needed. You look at a guy like Ben and you say him and Mike T were never best buds. Him and this were never best buds. Him and that were never best buds. He's had his people, but I think you don't hear Ben talking smack on Marquise Pouncey. Never. You don't hear Ben talking smack on Pat Freiermuth. Never. Najee. Never. People that he had relationships with. But it doesn't seem like him and Mike T ever did. And I think that's why you're getting into this, because the people who do have relationships with Mike T are talking nothing but great things. I've never heard a bad thing said about Mike Tomlin from a guy that I know has a relationship with Mike Tomlin. Ben's the first one. So again, it's not surprising at all, but I just think it peels you behind the curtain to say, at the end of the day, like, it's no surprise. Everybody could say whatever they want, but maybe there is an agenda here. It kind of feels like, and that, I think that agenda is showing.
Yes. And everybody's got one, right? Ben's got one. Yes. Joey Porter Sr. has one. It's, Debo has one for sure. Like that. And everybody has one. I think why I'm particularly interested in this conversation now is because there's so many questions and there's so many different opinions about how the Steelers move forward and in what direction. But I think I'm more interested in this sort of like, how did we get here? And I think the Ben Roethlisberger is like just the turning point of this organization in so many ways, right? Because it is the turning point where they won last is through him, the last franchise quarterback. They're looking to get back to that same sort of space. But the Steelers way, the Steelers quote unquote tradition, I think truly and really died, if it ever was alive in the early 2000s, with Ben Roethlisberger. Because like you said, that the way he was uplifted and elevated and placed on a pedestal for his entire career, despite doing the foul of all foulest of stuff, as Joey Porter said, the fact that Mike Tomlin was kind of like, just let him, it's Ben, it's fine, just deal with it. The fact that they didn't draft and properly train a successor because they didn't want to piss off their aging quarterback. Like, these are all things that they did specifically to Ben Roethlisberger. And now we have these conversations about, like, how did the Steelers tradition change? And when did this team change? And I feel, without a shadow of a doubt, it was when Ben Roethlisberger arrived that is when this whole entire thing and landscape shifted. So I think it is a bit funny, maybe a bit earned, maybe a bit of recompense that in his post-playing days, we're hearing a little bit more about that reputation that was sterling when he retired in 2021.
Yeah, I agree.
Shipped away a little bit here.
No, I agree. And I also, like, in the same conversation, I want to make it known, like, I've heard a lot of the same things, not teammate wise, but more so like the Ben not wanting a quarterback, the Ben kind of being a prima donna in that situation, that Terry Bradshaw was a lot of the same, and that I'm sure a lot of quarterbacks are. I agree with you 100%. Like, I think that's when the shift happened. Do you think, this is the real question, do you think that when Mason retires, he just does a full tell-all of all the things I hate about Ben Roethlisberger?
Yeah. 7 Things I Hate About You, Ben. It's by Mason Rudolph. Yeah, I'd love to hear more, and I'd love to hear just sort of, because obviously there's some bad blood there. If you're going to be
super bad blood,
that open, that brazen on Instagram. So yeah, I'd love to hear. The answer to your question is yes. We are going to get a one-man show called 7 Things I Hate About You, Ben, starring Mason Rudolph, coming soon in 2030.
2030. He'll be 2 bachelors in by 2030. Shout out to Mason Rudolph on that one. Wild conversation. All right. And shout out to Peasy, man. Honestly, I enjoy Peasy on a podcast. That guy, he's like your dad. That's like, like he's got all the opinions. And when he lays them out, sometimes you're like, yeah, this guy, he's been listening to a lot of sports talk radio. He knows how to, you know what I mean? That was what Peasy was like. I was like, this guy, you know what I mean? You could tell this guy does nothing but watch podcasts. Shout out to him. Shout out to Peasy. Let's talk some other football here. PFF tossed it out there that the Pittsburgh Steelers can go after a left tackle out of good old Green Bay. And no, this one's not associated with Mike McCarthy. Thankfully, this is a different situation. They see Rashid Walker as a name to watch for the Pittsburgh Steelers, saying, quote, Walker has excelled as a pass protector across 3 seasons as the Packers starting left tackle, earning a 69 plus PFF passing grade in each, which nobody cares about PFF grades. He's been particularly effective on quick passing concepts with his 84.4 PFF pass blocking grade on 3-step drop, ranking 6th amongst all qualifying tackles over that span. The ability would fit well with the Steelers, particularly if Aaron Rodgers decides to return to the Steel City with Mike McCarthy named the new head coach. They predict a 3-year, I just texted it to you earlier, 4-year, $84 million deal for Walker. Would you consider it? I think my thoughts on the matter outside of the contract and everything else that goes into it is quite simply, I don't have an argument against adding a good left tackle, and I don't think Dylan Cook is my reason to feel differently. Maybe Broderick Jones eventually used to be, probably isn't anymore. I think I'm fairly open to doing whatever's possible as long as it makes sense. And a 25-year-old out of Green Bay, I mean, it's not the worst thing in the world.
Not the worst thing in the world at all. I mean, we talked about this several times here. Like the need to protect whoever is going to be the starting quarterback is one of the most important positions for this team to fill and figure out on offense. Some people might have some hope, reserved for Broderick Jones. And if you do, you have the patience of a saint. I certainly don't. I'm a big fan of Dylan Cook. I'm hoping he comes in, takes this offseason in stride and comes back and just, captures the starting left tackle position, and we don't have to have this conversation again. That being said, if you can get a guy who is also just 25 years old in Rashid Walker and has a lot of starting experience and a lot of quality starting experience at that, you solve a huge issue along your offensive line. Yeah, I mean, I'm totally for it. You have all of this salary cap space, and we've talked about different ways that they can use it, creative ways, aggressive ways. This is just a practical solution for me. Maybe it's not specifically Rashid Walker. Maybe it's somebody else who fills in that role. But if you can simply solve the left tackle issue for 2026 and then still have Dylan Cook coming in as your backup and injury protection, yeah, that's a huge upgrade for me. I see it as a huge win. I would be totally in favor of this potential move.
No, me too. I think it fits the bill well. And truthfully, that's where I see the Steelers going with this, is if the Steelers are going to add a left tackle, I don't see them going into the NFL draft. I truthfully believe that they are going to be so high strung on wide receivers and potentially quarterbacks that they are going to ignore the offensive line completely. They're not even going to talk about it. I've been told that there are a number of positions the Steelers want. And in conversations, I think I've come to the place where I'd be very surprised if the Steelers went any other direction early. It's before the combine. So this is right out the gate information, nothing more. Right now, I'd be surprised if the Steelers went any other direction besides wide receiver and quarterback in the first round. I would be stunned, actually. In the second round, I think everything opens up, but I don't think you're going to get a left tackle in round 2. Like, I just don't think that's happening. I think at that point you're saying, how else can we solve this problem? And I think that free agency is going to be an option and one that they explore. Like, to me, it's like left tackle is a thing we'll solve next year. This year we're solving wide receiver. Next year, maybe quarterback and then a left tackle. Like, I just think that they could find an Isaac Seumalo at left tackle, or they could find a Walker. Like Walker's 25 years old. That dude's good. And you got him for 4 years. He's only 29. He's got another deal left on his plate. And that's probably with you. That's Zach Frazier's 24 years old. Like you are essentially bringing in another guy to mesh and be long-term with these guys. You just got to pay him more. And I don't think $84 million, that doesn't budge me at all. Like to me, $21 million a year for a left tackle. I mean, expensive, but not the craziest thing in the world. I think it fit like really, really well. Do you expect the Steelers to approach left tackle or left guard in free agency? Or do you think that they're like, what in your head, is there any real chance that what is the chance, I should say, that they let Dylan Cook and Broderick Jones and Spencer Anderson just see what they can do?
I think there's probably a better chance than I'd like to actually admit, right? Like I would say there's maybe a 50% chance that is just the group that they would take into training camp. At the same time, that leaves a lot of time for evaluating and having some conversations with some free agents, because like I've already stated here, I am not satisfied with that trio of tackles fighting it out. It's fun, right? It's a great sort of conversation about who of these three guys can, out scrap the other. But I would rather have a long-term answer, somebody that you truly believe in at that left tackle position. So I think it's certainly on the table, right? Like a 50% chance that they are going to think pretty long and hard about this. I imagine they're also going to want to maybe bring in a depth player for the secondary via free agency. If there's a left guard that they are interested in, I could see that being a priority over left tackle because of these options that they have in-house. So I think there's a lot of scenarios where they pivot away from left tackle in free agency, but no, it's certainly on the table. I think there's a 50% shot.
Yeah, I don't know about 50. I think maybe 50. Lower? I think lower. I do. I don't think the way I look at it is Spencer Anderson was the man. You know what I mean? Was that guy. But Mike McCarthy would have to go back and watch all the tape to find the 7 plays a game where Spencer Anderson was that guy. And I just don't know if he's going to do that. Then with Dylan Cook, I think Dylan Cook's a much bigger sample size. The problem is that I'm not even sold that if Mike Tomlin was coming back, Dylan Cook was going to be the starter. So now you're going to change coaches and say, hey, this dude started 3 games. He was pretty good at all 3 of them. Do you want him to protect Aaron Rodgers this season in your first season as head coach of the Pittsburgh Steelers? It's going to be, no, I'm good. I'm fairly okay with that. I think if there are no other options, then that's a different conversation. But I have a hard time thinking that they aren't going to go into free agency where they aren't looking for a quarterback. They probably aren't looking for too many veteran defenders and say, we are just going to ignore everybody. You know what I mean? Like, you have a lot of cap space and nowhere to put that cap space. You don't have people to sign. You got to sign Joey Porter Jr., who's a corner. You got to sign Keanu Benton, probably, who's a low-end defensive tackle. And Nick Herbig would be your third one. And Nick Herbig's not getting paid $25 million a year. Like, that dude's got 7 starts under his belt. He's getting paid $15 million a year, like $17 million a year. You have a lot of money to be tossing around out there. Plus you're going to come up with more. I think that's where they're going to target. Like in my head, it's the offensive line is where the Steelers are going to go hunting in free agency to fill those 2 spots. And I think young guys are going to be what they're looking for. And if there's no options, because that's the thing is like young guys get re-signed very frequently. So if there's no options, that's when things change. But I think their plan of attack is going to be going there and gets it just because there's no loyalty, man. Mike McCarthy didn't watch a single play of the Cowboys before he got hired there. He didn't even know who the quarterbacks are in the draft. The guy has no idea who Spencer Anderson is. He's Andrus Pete to Mike. He is Mike Tomlin's Andrus Pete. That is Spencer. Yeah,
we got Pete.
Pete's back. Good old Peter. He's here. He's gonna be
Peter.
Spencer. That guy. Yeah, it's just
Peter Andrews. Love his work. Good guy.
Yeah.
Know his dad. Went to school with him. So we know his football acumen.
Do you think, because in the same thought, I could be wrong here, do you think a new coach with no experience with him means Broderick Jones gets another shot?
That's why I
Like a
think there
blind
is a
shot.
legitimate I think there's a legitimate chance here, right? Because new coach, they might be excited by a 25-year-old former first round pick who has experience at left and right tackle, right? Like you can spin that in a way where it sounds almost desirable. And I think for that reason, you could really I can easily envision a scenario where Mike McCarthy comes in with his new staff. James Campen, the new offensive line coach, comes in and he's like, no, this is a guy I can work with. Let's just give him some time. And then we're all like, oh my goodness gracious, they're going to do it. They're going to let him try again. And we all know how this is going to end.
That sounds just disgusting.
Oh,
Just
right.
awful.
I
Awful.
prefer Rasheed Walker.
I hope, me too. Me too, which has quickly become my favorite guy, I think, for the position, because I tried to look. There's not many names at left tackle. No. You're really just kind of reaching on stuff. Bring him in here. You know what I mean? Be like, hey, this is Mike McCarthy. I know that you don't know, but we have about 130 connections. You know what I mean? Everybody that's ever coached you your whole career is now on my staff. You should come here for at least a year, maybe 4. I'd be all about it. I'd be all about it. All right. That's our talk. What a weird switch up to go from.
What a weird day.
Right? Weird day. Just to go, Ben. It just didn't feel real. It didn't feel real to just talk about normal football there for a second. Shout out to James Harrison, Ben Roethlisberger, giving us a little something as we head into just pure nothing. Just the abyss for the next 3 weeks. And then there's football. Then we get the combine. And then what's your favorite position that you're looking for at the combine?
Ooh, wide receiver, of course. And cornerback, but I mean that any top need for the Steelers is what I'm most interested in.
What's your favorite position that you're looking to learn the scoop on at the combine? The Steelers scoop.
Oh man. This might not be the sexy answer, but it's defensive line. I want to know if there's any real interest there, because I've made the argument several times here that I think it could use another intriguing player in the interior. So I'd love to know if maybe that hunch is being shared in the front office.
That's a good one. I was going to go quarterback.
But
that's a better pick. That's a better pick than quarterback. More legit, I'm just going to come out of here talking and be like, the Steelers, they like Ty Simpson. I've been saying it for 6 months. They love Ty Simpson. That's the guy right there. All right, I'm done. After this break, we're going to start answering your questions. Toss them in the chat. We'll be back in 30 seconds.
Pittsburgh, this one's for you. From the voices behind all Steelers talk comes Black and Gold apparel, your go-to for bold, fan-driven merch that reps the city, the Steelers, and everything in between. Whether you bleed black and gold or just love that Pittsburgh grit, we've got something for you. It's more than a podcast. It's a community. And thanks to your support, we're proud to bring the passion from our mics to your closets. Gear up, stand out, and show the world what real fans look like. Shop now at blackandgoldapparel.myshopify.com.
All righty. Shout out to our members. Shout out to our super chatters. We officially are at 60,400 subscribers. It was a great day to wake up and go, wow, that's it. There it is. We're here. We're finally here. We're giving it away on Friday, a signed Deshaun Elliott jersey. You could still enter to win it. All you got to do is become a subscriber. We're going to pick a random subscriber. Truthfully, I have 2 ways to go about this. One of them is just finding a random subscriber picker. The second one is getting a player to pick a random number between 1 and 60,000, which would be so awesome. And then having AI count, because I'm not going to do that unless they pick 1. I'll go 1, which could happen.
I can do
could
that.
Happen. I've had that happen. All right. With that said, shout out to our members. Shout out to our super chatters. Toss your questions in the chat. We'll get to as many of them as we can before we head out of here. Let's kick it off with Maddie. Tate, Lemon, Hurst in that order. Can we nab one? I think Hurst is more of a possibility than the other two. Tate, I'm going to be really honest. I just don't. I know that people want him. Where we stand today, and it's early in the process. I get it. It's early in the process. Things are going to change. Where we stand today, February 11th, I think there is a 0% chance the Pittsburgh Steelers are going to be able to get Carnell Tate. 0. I think he's gone in the first 5 picks. I think Lemon has an opportunity to go anywhere from 9 to 21. And I wouldn't be surprised if the Steelers moved up 2 picks, 3 picks to go get him. but I think he's where it starts as like a possibility. I wouldn't even say likely. I think Hurst is likely, unless I'm wrong there.
No, I think Hurst is absolutely likely. I think the question is, do you have to be the one who takes a risk on him and takes him, earlier than the third round or something like that? But he's an excellent prospect. It's actually really, if I did I'll do mock drafts like basically every day from now until the draft, just to keep my wits about me. And this was the first time that Mekhi Lemon ever went past 21, and he went at 26 to the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Wow.
But yeah, and I was like, well, I'm not going to get him. We're going to trade back in this one and just deal with it. But no. So if you can get Mekhi Lemon, if he lasts that long, if he drops down the board, then great. I really do stand by him being like the guy who can be the number 2 wide receiver week 1 immediately. You get Ted Hurst in round 3, I'm also pumped.
Yeah. I agree. Duff, I knew Debo had a vendetta against Tomlin. I still don't get 7s though. By the way, Noah, did you get my email last Friday that would make Mary happy? No, I did not get your email. I apologize for that. I'll check it out today for sure. I think Ben's vendetta is very simple. I don't think it has anything to do. I think he's upset with the organization that they kind of forced him to retire. But I think more than that, I think Ben just simply never saw himself as he came here knowing fully what a starting quarterback status was, and I think always held himself to that standard, which, puts you on a pedestal.
Yeah, man. He didn't wear a helmet when he wore a motorcycle before. If you think if you think you're that invincible
without wearing helmets, unfortunately,
that's stupid.
I know,
and that's fine. I'm not telling I love you. I'm not, but if you think you are untouchable on a moving death trap,
18-year-old
you probably think you're invincible in a locker room too. You know what I mean?
That's for sure. And he was. That's the thing is he was. What were you gonna do? Go fight the quarterback? Were you stupid? What are you are you trying to get fired immediately? I just don't. There's no one there's not a single person in the Art Rooney could go up and fight Ben Roethlisberger. Rooney's getting kicked off the team. You're not fighting the franchise quarterback. It's just not happening. I agree.
Yeah,
I agree. The Duff's got another one for us. To my previous super, I meant dear
make Maddie happy.
Oh, no. I wonder what it is. I'm actually very curious. Let's see what's up. Let's see what's up here, Duff. Oh my gosh. You guys, man. It's freaking Will Howard highlights. That's all it is. So you kidding me? What are we doing here? What are we doing here? Unbelievable. Duff. Shout out to Maddie, man. Shout out to Maddie.
Off of your initial reaction. I thought it was going to be something dirty based off of your initial reaction, but
no, it wasn't. It is dirty. It's Howard highlights. What are we doing?
It's provocative.
Dirty. It's provocative. Yeah, this is just getting me going. This is just rage baiting me on a Wednesday. What are we doing here? What are we doing? Guys, Chris here. Guys, do you think McCarthy was hired because he will quietly let Rooney run the show? Ooh, it feels like how Jerry Jones ran the Cowboys through McCarthy. Oh, good question here by Chris. For sure.
Yeah.
I'm curious your answer. You'll have a better answer than me.
Well, I think what it just brings up for me is that, it's clear that Art Rooney II fell in love with Mike McCarthy, right? And that is the reason that he is the head coach of the Pittsburgh Steelers right now. I wonder what exactly it was and what it honestly was about Mike McCarthy. Not what we've heard, not what Art Rooney has said in that nice conversation with Softball Questions with Bob Labriola right after they hired him, not, in his pre-written statements in the introductory press conference. I do truly wonder, what was it about Mike McCarthy that made him so desirable, more so than any other candidate? Was it the fact that he worked with Joe Montana? Or was it that maybe Art Rooney saw a guy that was just a little bit more pliable than the last guy? I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah. And honestly,
It's
I
a
think
great
that
question.
I think that Tomlin was pretty pliable. I think Tomlin had his ways, but I think, and I said this on the call-in show today, like when people say like, was it Rooney that, forced Tomlin to have this sense of urgency or whatever? Like, I want to say no. I want to say Tomlin naturally had this like sense of he's always got to try to win a Super Bowl. He's always got to try to do this. And I think it just perfectly fell into line with what Rooney wanted. Like I think Rooney looked at it and just said, like, I don't need to push because this guy knows what he's doing. You know what I mean? And he gets it. And I think McCarthy will come in here. What'll be different is I think Rooney will mold those ideas into him right from the jump. Not necessarily pulling Jerry Jones's where he's signing people and picking players and so on and so forth, but more so like, hey, I'm going to mold your thoughts to think Super Bowl, Super Bowl, Super Bowl, Super Bowl, Super Bowl, and I'm going to let you do your job, which is the same thing and not productive, but I could see him doing like, that's thankfully Rooney's not a GM. I think that's where things cross the line of like, could you imagine, dude? Like Jerry Jones being a GM is just the wildest thing I've ever heard of. It's just like, hey, I have no experience doing this whatsoever, but I'm just gonna, I'm gonna run this football team now and like legitimately run it. That's just crazy. It's so crazy. Professional couch coaches, would you be open to trying to trade or trying to move Broderick Jones to guard? Yeah. No.
Oh.
I am not as a starter. Like I said this again, like I answered this in the call-in show today too. My thoughts are if you want to move him to guard and try him out at guard, it's the same thing as like left tackle. Like left tackle, you have a Dylan Cook to compete with, but I still think I would rather somebody else, to be honest with you. If you're going to move him to guard, my only thing with it is it can't be Broderick versus Spencer Anderson. It has to be Broderick versus Spencer Anderson versus somebody else who is starter quality. You don't have to go out there and sign a 10-year vet that's definitely coming in here to start. Go sign a Nate Herbig type player where it's like good enough to be a really good backup, good enough to be a starter, and let them compete. And if Broderick's good at guard, awesome. If Broderick stinks at guard, you don't find yourself saying Spencer Anderson also isn't meeting the bill. Now we're screwed. I want somebody else in there who could start, who doesn't have the expectations to start. That's the only way I'm cool with that situation. No, nothing's handed to anybody.
Yeah. Yes, I think that is absolutely for sure. If there's any scenario involving this transition to guard, he's not a starter, right? Like he would just have to work his way up from the bottom. I certainly agree with that. I think you can save yourself the trouble and the false hope of waiting, and just realize that like a lot of the things that were supposed to make him very great as a tackle, he was long, athletic, quick reactions, are helpful along the interior, but not as desirable as the way that they have been shaping and trying to get his technique to improve. So I think you would see a very long, trial period, a long transitioning period of him trying to learn the right techniques of the interior offensive line. And then maybe you get some use out of him.
Yeah.
I think you're taking the juice probably isn't worth the squeeze for as big of a risk as you're going to take with him.
No, it's more, again, like I don't want anybody to take it as like Noah's advocating for this. It's essentially what you said. Like it's a trial run to say, is there a miracle here? And if not, it's whatever, man. Put him on the bench and honestly have him practice everywhere during practice. Who cares? You got him for a year. And if somehow he looks good, you re-sign him. But chances are the Broderick Jones experiment either works this year or it dies this year. That's what it's going to be, because they're not going to bring him back. He's going to go and try to get another opportunity somewhere else if he doesn't start in Pittsburgh, no matter where it is. Chris, I apologize. We missed this. In regards to my last post, my fear is that Rooney hired McCarthy as coach because he wanted a yes man to carry out his decisions without question. So I think yes to this. I do. However, I don't think Rooney's making decisions. However, all coaches and GMs are yes men at the end of the day. Every single one of them. Kenny Pickett ends up in Pittsburgh because Rooney says, go draft Kenny Pickett. It happens. Shedeur Sanders ends up in Cleveland because the Haslams say, go get Shedeur Sanders, stop messing around. And it happens. It happens across the board all over the place. Every single decision that is made mostly gets run through the owner before it goes out to do anything. And if Rooney shuts it down. If Rooney says, cool, it's good to go. If Rooney says, I don't care, you do what you got to do. But I think all coaches and GMs at the end of the day are yes men.
That's an astute way of putting it, because they are. You cannot be a one man on an island sort of thing, because that's how you get fired, unless it all goes exactly according to plan for you, right? And not a lot of coaches are ever going to get the bandwidth to make that even happen. So yes, I do think, again, I think that there was something appealing about Mike McCarthy beyond just him being a Pittsburgh guy, right? And I don't think it's the most desirable quality that maybe Art Rooney too loved about him. He is his boss, signs his paychecks. So there has to, we all, like, if I have a story idea and Noah says doesn't sound like the right angle, I can't be like, well, you know what? I just wrote it, published it, bitch. Like, I can't, like, that's not how it works.
It's on the front page SI currently,
page.
So don't know what
it.
to tell you. Yeah.
So I get it. Sometimes you got to be a little bit of a yes man. But yeah, I think there might be a little bit of I think this is the easiest sort of transition that Art Rooney could have imagined between head coaches. And that's what Mike McCarthy represents, which I think for me is why it feels so uninspired.
Yes, I agree. Maddie, how many wide receivers can we see them taking? I see two. I don't think the Steelers have like a ridiculous amount of draft picks when this is all said and done. I think somewhere around 7 to 8 picks is where I expect them to land. I think 2 of those will be wide receiver.
I certainly hope so. I think you have to double dip, because I don't feel as if wide receivers going to be a priority in free agency when the new league year begins and the tampering window opens. So you have to acquire talent through the draft. And thankfully, as Maddie keeps letting us know, as the further we get into mock draft season and draft preparation, the more wide receivers seem to be available in those rounds 3 and 4 that could actually be legitimate help.
Yeah, I feel the same way, and I think that's like where your second dip is for a good reserve with potential, and your first dip is that guy better be just smothered in sprinkles, dude, smothered.
that lemon dip, sprinkles
all day. Duffy Buckets here. It's not Will highlights. It's a legit pro comp that makes sense. His pro comp now is just Will Howard, guys. It's just Will Howard always. I can't watch it on film, obviously. But
Ben Roethlisberger's pro comp is Will
could you
Howard.
imagine, dude? This is what Duff, I get it, and everybody else, I get it. I'm still not, I'm all on board with starting Will Howard. I'm all about it. I think that's the right move. I don't think it works out, but I think that's the right move. But you want to know just the worst pro comp I've ever heard? Today, I read that Spencer Rattler has comparisons to Aaron Rodgers.
This words,
words, they're awful sometimes.
They're awful. What was this specific comparison?
Oh gosh, let me pull it up.
Do you remember? And it's okay if you don't.
Oh, it's don't get me wrong here. We are. It's right on the front page. Enjoy
ayahuasca.
Oh my gosh, I hope not. I hope not. Okay, so it's about how Spencer Rattler, throws short passes. You want to know who throws the shortest passes in the NFL?
Dinky Dunk Aaron Rodgers.
Dinky Dunk Aaron Rodgers. That's who it is. That's who it is. It's just pretty it's pretty atrocious, man. It's pretty atrocious. Shout out to Spencer Rattler, future Pittsburgh Steelers
QB1.
That's what I'm saying. Shout out to Pittsburgh Primo and Jonathan as our newest members. Appreciate you guys so much. And Purple Yeti Pack congratulating us on the big 60. We're giving away the jersey on Friday. Then we're going for 75. We'll get 75. We're doing something bigger than a Deshaun Elliott jersey. Don't know what yet. We got to come up with something bigger, but we will do something bigger. And then from there, it's 100, dude. And that is freaking wild, man. That is what 100,000 people who just tune in to say, hey, what does Noah and Jacob have to say today? That's just, I can't tell you how much I love you guys. Can't tell you how insane. Life is not a real thing, you know? It's really not. Appreciate you guys.
Words aren't real. Life isn't real.
Nope. Nate Moore, does Highsmith 21 and 52 get us into the top 10? It does, but I don't want that. Like, I think it does. I don't think that I would give that up to get into the top 10. And I think you're getting 10, maybe 9.
Yeah. And then are you okay with sitting until 76 to pick next?
No, I'm not. I'm super against the idea of giving away all of this to get into, like, what are you going to get? You're going to, unless it's Caleb Downs. And even then I'm having a hard time thinking about it. Like, you got to make a lot of trades in the back end then to get back into the second round. I just, man, I don't know. I wouldn't be about it. It depends on the player where I'd have a conversation for it, but I think you're giving up a lot.
Yeah, if I can be assured that there is another move to be made to get back into the second round or something like that, that we don't have to, then you don't have to sit and watch 60 picks go by before the Steelers pick again, then I'm a little bit open to it. My mind immediately went to Caleb Downs in this trade up scenario, because that's the only way are coming out. Yeah, the only option to trade up for. You're not doing that for Mekhi Lemon. You're not doing that for even Carnell Tate, in my opinion. You're not, unless for some reason like Arvell Reese just decides to, no one wants to take him for the first 5 picks or something like that. Then you just say, screw it, let's go get this guy because he's a monster. But other than that, you got to get Caleb Downs, and I don't. That's a big ask. It's a big ask. A great question from Nate. I don't know if I'm ready to pull the trigger, and I don't know why I'm so hesitant.
I think I'm hesitant too. I just think it's a lot of pressure to say this one guy has to essentially save the organization. And that's so much going on here. I think you could get so much for Alex in different ways to say, like, you're giving up him and your first 2 picks for one guy. It's a lot going on. It's a lot going on for sure. I love
Caleb Downs though.
And me too. Best player in the draft in my eyes.
Yeah. How much do I believe in this guy? A lot.
A lot.
That's a question. I'm gonna have nightmares tonight about this, Nate.
Dylan, any interest in Derek Cook? Sounds like he's healthy. He might be the best of the bridge quarterbacks. So
is he coming back?
I've heard rumbles of him coming back, but I've heard rumbles of him coming back for the last, I'd say 3-4-ish weeks. I heard before he retired that there was a list of possibilities before the shoulder surgery to just say, like, hey, where would you like to go? It's essentially the Saints saying, you kind of pick, we'll make it happen. And there was a team on that list that was on the East Coast that is currently covered in snow that is slowly melting away. Maybe that team is back on the list if need be, and Aaron Rodgers says no.
I'd much prefer that.
Over Aaron Rodgers, even a year off?
100%. Yep.
Would you go Derek over the other outside options? Removing contracts, removing trades, straightforward. You get to pick.
Not over every single one, but he's probably like in the top 3.
Okay.
I think Joe Milton. I'd take over him. Yeah.
What a name to start that list. I'd take Joe Milton over. Threw me right for a loop there. Who's your other one? If Joe Milton's where you're starting, where are you finishing?
Yeah, it's not the list that you think it is. That's for sure. It's I was gonna be just a jackass and say Spencer Rattler, but that's just a lie and a half. No, it's probably just maybe Joe Milton. The more I talk through this, I would take Derek Carr if he's healthy. Like the dude can throw the ball.
I agree. I'd be about Derek Carr too. Bridge quarterback, whatever.
Bridge quarterback, not good,
yeah.
not a good quarterback. Bridge quarterback.
Bridge quarterback. Bridge quarterback. Maddie here. With having around $45 million in cap space, how would you free up more money? Who would you cut? Who would you trade? Can you restructure TJ already? Yes, you can restructure TJ, Jalen. Those are the two big ones. Alex, I think, has 1 year left to restructure because he's got 2 years left on his deal, which I think in the conversations of outside linebackers just makes it so ridiculous to think about trading to trade Alex Highsmith over TJ Watt, to be like, this guy is 2 years younger and has 2 years left on his deal, but and is half the price, but it just doesn't make sense. Alex would be on that list. Pat would be on that list. DK could be on that list.
Oh, that's a good one.
That's about it. I think those are the big ones. Where you could save a good chunk of money, in restructures. When it comes to cuts, man, there are a lot of them. Jonnu,
PQ,
Jalen, PQ. Who else? Dude, that might be all of them. There are a lot of free agents in Pittsburgh. There are a lot of people.
They're not committed long term to a lot of players.
No, a lot of young guys. A lot of young guys are super old guys that you're not gonna. You know what I mean? Like you're not cutting Cam Hayward. You're like, yeah, get out of here. I think those are the big ones.
Cam. We don't even want you anymore, man.
Personally, I wouldn't be doing everything. I think that the Steelers are gonna have a really easy offseason in terms of money, but I where you would go, I'd restructure people first and then I'd start cutting guys. The first thing I'd do is cut Jonnu Smith. But after that, I'd just start going down the list. I think that's where I'd start.
I think that's fair.
Yeah. Yinzer Kenny, how do you feel about getting Joe Mixon when he gets cut?
If he's healthy, I'd kick it around if you have some options. I'm not, can the Steelers strike gold again with whoever they bring in to pair with Jalen Warren? Kind of like Kenny G was just such a perfect fit in so many ways. And yes, Joe Mixon, I think, brings a lot of similar things. Like you can, you certainly use him in the passing game. He can take on some of those carries for sure. I like what he could do. I don't know. I think I'm doubtful about the idea of someone coming in here and having that standout offensive season. I kind of want to see. I'm kind of waiting for the right tandem mate that really props up Jalen Warren going into 2026, I think, and not who is the guy that's going to split, maybe outshine him, but who's going to be the guy who completely elevates him in that role.
Yes. And truthfully, I think that there are options out there. I'm not saying Mixon isn't one of them. I think Mixon could. Plus, Mixon's a power back that I think that's what the Steelers were missing last year. Is they tried to make Jalen the power back, and Jalen's a damn good power back. That guy does not go backwards ever. I've never watched him get tackled backwards. I'd have to look at the list. I'm not out of Mixon though. I've heard that foot injury is wild though. I don't know what's going on, but
that could be tough.
Yeah, I've heard it's out there for sure. Purple Yeti pack, just getting here. Why are people mad at Ben and Debo? Peasy went off, and you should go watch it after this in about 15 minutes. Go watch Cam Hayward's podcast from Peasy and Diana Rossini, and it is a good one, my friend. It is a good one. Pittsburgh Primo. Noah, would you keep Kyle Duggar? Yes. My answer is yes. As a third. You need a third safety.
Yeah, they need depth, right? If he's the Chuck Clark of 2026, that's an upgrade, right? You have a third safety that is absolutely able to contribute, right? And maybe even could step in as a starter and you don't lose that much sleep. I'm not saying you go out and make sure you spend $5 million on him or something like that to make sure he comes back, but
$1 million.
He's a veteran
years old.
Yeah, he was cast away from the New England Patriots, given away for pennies. I think you can convince him to come back pretty cheaply and be a part of this rotation, and I think that would absolutely benefit the secondary.
I agree. And I look at him as like he's 30 years old. He got traded and then he got benched at the end of the season. Like he's just a guy looking for a home. He's a guy looking for a place to still play football. Make Pittsburgh that place. Give him a role as a third. I think he worked really well last year as a starter, let alone being a backup. He's a veteran guy who's got captain experience, who could help Deshaun Elliott, who could play special teams, and who could help hopefully a rookie. Plus, you have Sebastian Castro as your other option, which I think is a great number 4. And then maybe you bring back Miles Killebrew, you look another direction. Either way, I think it's a good foundation to have to say, like, we have 5 quality safeties, in different aspects, but 5 quality safeties. I agree for sure. Carl Spackler, do what we can to trade for the Jets' first round pick in 2027. What do you think we'd have to offer for that? It's a good question because truthfully, if the Steelers could get the Jets' first round pick next year, it's a valuable pick. It's a valuable pick. And it's a year later.
Yeah. What do you give up for that? Because if they're smart,
which
the New York Jets would, they're not. They should not part with that pick because they can maybe actually get a franchise quarterback with that pick.
They could mess up another quarterback. Come on.
They certainly could. They could take,
let's be honest about the situation. They could take Arch Manning, okay? And then he could stink there, and then he could end up in the Seattle Seahawks, and then he could win a Super Bowl. Like these things happen all the time. All the time in New York. This is just what they do. Do you think that this is a good question. Do you think that a 2027 first and Alex Highsmith gets the job done or gets you started in that conversation?
I think maybe gets you started.
You can't trade TJ there. That's just brutal.
No. But I don't think that would actually help you get that pick. Like, again, from the Jets' perspective, like what do they get out of moving back 15 to 20 spots in the first round, plus a guy going into his last year of his contract?
Maybe Woody Johnson's kid makes them feel like convinces them that they're going to stink.
That's probably already happening. You're correct. I would imagine that's true. I can't imagine. I guess I am giving the New York Jets too much credit in this hypothetical because you can't, like, a logical person, why would they give up that first round pick in 2027? Because it's going to be a top 5 pick.
I agree. What about, let me toss a package out there. Apparently they have 3 first round picks. Shout out to Lance in the chat.
They have 3 first round
picks. Let me toss a trade offer at you. Okay. Jalen Ramsey, Jonnu Smith, 2027 first round pick for the Jets' original first round pick in 2027. Do you think that they budge?
No way.
No.
No way. No way. Absolutely not. That would be a bad. God, I mean, again, like, that's a bad organization, right? Like, well, I understand.
Yeah, they're the worst.
I mean, that's a lot. That's a lot of money to take in. Giving up no. I think it's no. I don't think they do that. Do you think they do that?
And I don't know. I don't think it's realistic either way. I'm curious to know, like, where the bar is. I think it'd be like a PFF simulator where you're just tossing in trades, hoping something works. Like,
100%. 100%.
You're just like, yeah, let's try this one next, because I have no idea where the bar would start. None whatsoever. Yinzer Kenny here. How much of the Steelers' way on defense is actually staying? Is Patrick Graham essentially running the old playbook with new terminology, or should we expect a totally different schematics? So I don't think it's going to be a totally different defense. I do think it'll be a defense that has different circumstances, if that makes sense. Like Mike Tomlin ran the same thing all the time, no matter what, and you knew what was happening in certain places. Patrick Graham's going to come in here and run a 3-4 defense, and 3-4 defenses get run a lot in the same ways. but his tendencies are going to be different. The curves that he throws are going to be different. Like it's going to be the same base with different styles. If that makes sense, like, you're not going to come in here and run a 4-3 essentially.
Yes. Yeah. Don't expect wholesale sweeping changes in terms of, it will look very familiar in a lot of ways, but I think that's not the worst thing just yet. I'm going to reserve all judgment until I see things in OTAs, training camp, etc. Because again, you look at what the Seattle Seahawks just did, and Lord knows they did not do anything that schematically complicated. We talked about this the other day too. Like it was very similar to what the Houston Texans did against the Steelers and all season, right? Where like they weren't surprising you at the line of scrimmage with some crazy action and then disguising coverage, and then you had no idea what was happening. They just lined up and beat you. And that's all the Seattle Seahawks did too. And that's why I think it doesn't have to necessarily be 100% completely different. It needs to be improved, efficiencies need to be found for sure. And the predictability that came with Mike Tomlin being changed to just Patrick Graham might be helpful enough. But I think overall, it's going to be a pretty familiar looking defense in 2026.
Yes, very much so. Very much so. Agree. Jonathan, can you cut Ramsey and not incur any dead money, just saving $19 million immediately? I keep seeing this multiple ways. I don't think so. We could look it up.
I was going to say, I didn't think that was possible this year.
Next year. Next year, there's a bigger out than this year. This year, you're only saving $3 million. That's the only thing you would save. Next year, you'd save $9 million. And the year after that, you'd save $24 million. They are screwed, dude. You have to trade this contract. You have to. But no, the only way that you could do that is if you trade them. And if somebody somehow is like, you want to know what we're going to do? We're just going to take it all. We'll just take all the contract, the whole thing. That sounds great, which is just not actually feasible. So the answer is no. It's not even close, actually. Do you think they ever trade Ramsey? You think they ride this thing out? They can't ride this thing out, can they?
Can't. No, they can't. And I think Ramsey will retire or something. You know what I mean? Like I don't think he wants to be here through the remainder of his contract. I really don't.
That he'd retire before he made $31 million to go away, though? Like, you don't think that he'd just be like, all I got to do is push out 3? You know what I mean? Like, could you, like, I feel like, man, dude.
It's a fair point.
I think there might be the part of him that just says, I cashed it in 2025, really, at the end of the season. And I just really never came back, but I just made $70 million in 3 years. Like, I don't know, man. I don't know.
They got to trade him.
You got to trade. It's just crazy. You got to trade him. ND Joe, you guys haven't seen anyone accidentally wearing any Green Bay swagger in the building by chance, have you? I would love that. That would be so awesome. So awesome. Professional couch coaches. Breece Hall? Question mark?
Heck yeah.
I'd be
Heck yeah, I'd take Breece Hall. Come on now.
I wonder what his market value is, because I'm sure it's ridiculous.
I would imagine probably like $9 million would be my guess.
Not $9 million a year, you're thinking?
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say somewhere in that ballpark too. Let's see.
I bet you can give him like a 2-year
10-4. 4 years, $41.5 million, 10-4 annually.
Absolutely not. I'd never do that. I do.
No, me neither.
Best I could do is $5.
And a chip.
But no, I think. Yeah, I'd go like two years, like 18 million, and do like 17 guaranteed or something like that. Which is like,
I think I'd be
close, but that's what I would be comfortable doing.
Yeah, me too. And I truthfully don't think he's going to go for $40 million a year. I think somebody's nuts to sign him for a 4-year deal. But I give him a 2 years deal. Yeah, I agree. And just have him. You'd say Jalen would become number 2, which would bum me out. But I think Breece Hall's got potential to be fantastic. So you might as well. Keeping it trucking here. Dylan, right tackle Max I hear Naker. I hear Anchor dominated at the scene. Do you know who that is?
I don't know how to pronounce it.
No. Dominated at the Senior Bowl. Any possibility of moving Fatanu to left tackle if we could get a stud right tackle? I think there is a possibility. I also don't know if I want that to happen. Like, how many times could you move the chess pieces before you just realize that moving the chess pieces isn't working? Fatanu played great last year. Maybe just let him play great. Maybe just let him be great. Do you know who this guy is?
I've seen him just in like mock drafts and stuff. I'm trying to look up. This looks like I don't know, like how you pronounce like something Spanish, which I'm probably just butchering. Ihanachor?
Yep, I have no idea.
Ihanachor?
Oh, you're bringing the N. You're bringing the N into the A. Got it. Not Anchor. Sounds good.
It's apparently an Igbo word, which would mean it's Nigerian.
That's cool.
That's awesome.
Yeah, your thoughts on Fatanu?
I think I've said something like this before. Like I love him at right tackle. He has been excellent, right? He did play a ton on the left side in college. And if you told me that you have someone who can only play on the right side, but it could solve the offensive line issues to put Troy on the left side, I would be open to trying it just because I think he is that exceptional of an offensive lineman. Still, the right side of your line is like the bread and butter. That's like the strongest part of this team is center, right guard, right tackle. I don't really think I would want to disrupt that. I would much rather take a chance on another left tackle who's younger, and maybe you could develop a little bit into that starter.
Yeah, I very, very much so agree. Tyrone here. No, what's JPJ's contract deal? What could JPJ's contract deal look like? You think he gets $15 million a year? 3 years, 15 mil?
More.
Yeah, this episode's getting taken down. If people keep commenting what they're commenting, just give him a heads up. Like,
yeah, I mean, I know you're just trying your best to pronounce it.
All right. With that said, we're gonna head out of here.
I think Joey's getting more than 15 mil a year on his next contract, to be quite honest.
Yeah. What do you think the number is?
Probably 20. I think it would be like a 4 years, $80 million deal, something like that.
I like that.
Oh my gosh.
I like that. Wu-Tang Steeler. Can you see the Steelers drafting Lee Hunter or Caden McDonald in the first round?
I love Caden McDonald. I think that he would be an excellent pick. That is a player who I threw out a couple of weeks ago because I think he can really play that true, zero technique as the nose tackle. He can really amplify what I think Derek Harmon could do in year 2. So yeah, I would be totally fine with that. Lee Hunter would be a good pick. Again, I am fine with strengthening the interior of this defensive line in the first round. I don't think that would be a wasted pick at all.
No, me neither. Like I said, I don't expect it to happen, but I do think that the board could shift in a way that the Steelers are almost forced to go with option number 3, which is, I think, in their heads, defensive tackle, which is, again, to me, makes so much sense. I mean, I ran a couple of mock drafts and immediately, immediately that became kind of like thrown in your face that there are going to be options at 21 if you sit there, and less options at wide receiver. And I think that could be where they go after that. Lee Hunter's a bit. Caden McDonald, I think, is a stud too.
Stud.
Yeah, and I think they're both gonna. McDonald might be gone beforehand. Lee Hunter, I don't have as strong of a sense. I think McDonald might be gone right before them. But if they are there, yeah,
Lee Hunter will be available. I think McDonald could be taken somewhere between 15 and 20, but I also could see him dropping into like the 30s.
Yeah, I agree. All right, y'all. With that said, we're heading out of here. Thank you guys so much for jumping on to another episode of All Steelers Talk. Make sure to subscribe to us on YouTube, youtube.com/All Steelers Talk. Check us out anywhere you get your podcast. And as always, find all our work at si.com/NFL/Steelers. Before you head out of here, hit that like and subscribe button, and and we'll be back tomorrow. Until then, enjoy another beautiful day in the Berg. Peace.